All right, it's Thursday night. I'm coming at you a little bit later than normal this evening. I'll give you an idea of why here in a second. So I've got a very valid reason for not being here as early as I typically am. So my name is Gino D'Angelo. I'm a local Northern Michigan real estate agent, and every Thursday night I come to you live from downtown Petoskey to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, what's going on in Northern Michigan real estate, insider tips, tricks, things I'm seeing from the streets, and we just have an honest conversation. So if there's anything on your mind that you'd like to talk about tonight, don't hesitate to reach out, drop a question. Let me know where you're watching from. I've got a couple of things I want to go over. We're going to talk about Michigan's next hotspot, a couple areas in northern Michigan that we're seeing a lot of people migrate to that may surprise you. So make sure you stick around, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. If you've not yet subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I put out a new video once a week, every Sunday, and then go live every Thursday. And I would hate for you to miss one, specifically if you're interested in moving to Northern Michigan, staying in Northern Michigan, just curious about what Northern Michigan is. I make a lot of high quality content to help you make a decision. So as always, drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me put this. Let me put a banner up. Well, I'm not going to put a banner up. Let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions about anything we're going to talk about tonight. I saw this article earlier today. Okay, so let me start. The reason that I'm late tonight is forever. Those of you who watched me for a while know that my YouTube lives historically have started at 7 p.m. for about a year, maybe not a year, but last winter we started doing them 7 p.m. Seemed like the time that the most people were able to watch, and we got the most traction. We had 20, 30 people watching at a time, which is awesome. So forever it was 7 o'clock. Then this year, my son is playing Pop Warner football. His practice, it's only a few minutes away from the office, but his practice gets over at 7 o'clock. So I pushed it back until 7:30. And that has been fine until tonight when him and some of his teammates wanted to jump into the break wall in downtown Petoskey. I want to see if I can pull the picture, but I took a picture on my phone, but I want to see if the videos will show up already. I don't think they're going to sync that quickly. All right, let me come back to this because they're going to show up. It just might take a minute. So, all right. I saw this story when I was preparing. I always like to, I've got a lot of friends who are realtors who are in much bigger areas that do YouTube lives, and they're able to talk about the news in their area. And we just don't quite have that luxury simply because there's just not that much that happens in Northern Michigan. That water is cold. I know it is. I actually almost, you guys probably saved me from jumping in because I may have done it, but let me try to airdrop this picture to myself. Let's see if I can do this. Let me see if I can airdrop this picture of him and his friends jumping in the water. Airdrop to myself, MacBook Air. This should work. Usually somebody helps me with this kind of stuff, but let me see if I can make this work. Bear with me just 1 second. So while I do this, there's actually a story that I saw this week, that I saw today. Why is this not working? I don't know that I'm going to get this to work. Let me see if I can share this with you. Let me see how this. I need to be a little more tech savvy than myself. Save. Maybe if I save it, save. Download, save, replace. Let's see if this pops up. Oh, here we go. All right, so this is the reason that YouTube Live. So it looks a little bit too cold for me, but that's okay. I'll play it again. That's okay. There were some great sunsets out there tonight. So my son will be happy that I shared that. So anyways, that's the reason I was late. I saw this. Back to a serious note. I'm going to look off topic tonight. There was an article that I'm going to share with you that, let me share my screen, that actually surprised me. So there is a new apartment development called Lumber Lofts. It's an old lumber yard that they're turning into what looks, this is probably 2 blocks from my office. I drive by it multiple times a day. And they posted a story. I couldn't figure out my Petoskey News login. I got into it earlier, but I couldn't get into it before this, which is sort of how life goes sometimes. So I'll give you the cliff notes. They have 60 condos available. Lofts at Lumber Square, Petoskey. So they have 60 here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get back on task. I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to show you their website. So this is an apartment building that's going up in Petoskey. There's a handful of apartments going up right now. This is the smallest of the two sort of premier developments that are going up. This one has 60 units. Those 60, it's not even completed yet. Those 60 units are spoken for, and they have a 241 person wait list. And the article in the news review goes on to talk about how housing affordability is an actual crisis. Is that the one by the skate park, Charlevoix? It is actually not. So the one you're thinking of is the old Maple Block. That was about, I think that has over 200 units. This one is on the same, so that's on River Road next to the skate park, as you mentioned. This one is on Emmett Street, which is probably half a mile from the skate park. So this is the smaller one. I'm probably going to add a couple of these to the video. So yeah, big demand, Paul L. Absolutely. So I want to pull up their website and just give you a little insight as what these are, just in case. Hey, a lot of people decide to rent in Petoskey or Northern Michigan before they buy here. So I think this is relevant for relevant content. So let me share the screen. Here are the lofts at Lumberyard. Gary Blackburn, I saw your comment just as I'm loading this up. I think this is going to answer it. So who will live here? This development is designed to meet the needs of our missing middle or middle income community. The lofts at Lumber Square will provide safe, affordable place to live for household earnings between 80 and 100% of the area median income. So this is the part that's sort of shocking to me. Here on the screen right now are the prices for a $12.25 for a one bedroom, $14.50 for a two bedroom, $16.50 per month for a three bedroom. So to think that 60 of them have already been spoken for, and they've got a wait list for 241. And these are not, we can debate if this is, expensive or cheap, but I think compared to what it cost to rent or what it used to cost to rent here, they're beautiful. They're brand new. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're getting a quality product for, this isn't, some dumpy house that's charging top dollar because of, the demand. But so right here, in short, affordability can be deeply personal, can mean different things to different people. What one household might consider affordable could be very different from another. When it comes to government, so this is a government housing program. There are some parameters and definitions for what are considered affordable. In short, affordability is based on area median income, aka AMI. Low income typically refers to households earning less than 80% of the area median income. Workforce housing, which this is the way they've always pitched this, is housing for the workforce. This isn't a vacation home or somebody that comes up here part-time. This is for people that live and work in the Petoskey area. So for reference, as of fall of 2024, Emmett County's area median income for a four-person household is $90,000, meaning a four-person household, I'm sure they figure, two working adults, two kids as the average. That's $90,000. Or if you're a single person, $63,000. But even at $63,000, that is still a very, if you're talking about $60,000 a month, that's about $5,000 a month. Your rent's going to be about 25% of that. Yeah, that my math is right. So definitely something to consider. Something we're going to keep an eye on, because it's hard because we talk on this channel a lot about, multi-million-dollar vacation homes and, million-dollar houses downtown, or even $500,000 starter homes, which I understand that I've just been immersed in this market for so long that seems normal to me, but it's not normal, and it's gotten very expensive. And that's definitely left a need for a lot of people in this area. As somebody who claimed, I think of myself as dialed into Northern Michigan real estate as anybody. I'm a very productive realtor. I make a ton of content. So I have a pulse of what's going on. I was shocked to hear that there were 241 people on the wait list. And that's probably, let's talk about this. That's just people that were willing to be on a wait list. I mean, I guarantee there's a lot of people that called that said, no, I'm not going to put myself on a wait list. I'll go do something else. So to think about the amount of demand we need for, a $1,600, a $1,500 a month apartment, that's not inexpensive. So that's definitely a problem. And something we've been talking a lot about, and I promise we're going to get into Northern Michigan's next hotspot, but this is an interesting conversation. As we've seen interest rates come down, it hasn't really moved the real estate market that much. And another interesting aspect is every time we list a new property, you get the first weekend. So typically what we try to do is list on a Wednesday or Thursday. That way It gives people the ability to schedule the showings for the weekends, which is typically when people look at houses. So we get a ton of new listings, and a lot of times we get that first wave, meaning the first weekends, either way, there's usually a ton of showings that first weekend. And typically the house either goes under contract or it takes a while and doesn't sell right away. And we've been seeing that a lot more lately where these houses are just not selling, meaning the demand's there, interest rates are starting to come down, but I think the buying population is just saying is really resisting the current prices. And I think what even makes that more interesting is I saw a statistic today that 48% of the home sellers are taking their house off the market because they're not getting their price. So I think it's creating this, gridlock, of a lack of a better term, where sellers aren't getting their price. So you would think if the sellers aren't getting the price, you would think that would cause prices to come down. It's not. It's causing people to take their houses off the market for a number of reasons. One, they typically have a ton of equity and can hold out. Two, they've got low interest rates, so they can also hold out. And a lot of people think that the real estate market is going to be better next year than it is this year. From a buyer's perspective, which obviously a lot of people watching this are buyers, it does it's the tale of two markets. And I know I say that every video, but it's the honest truth. There's a tale of two markets. There's buyers that just simply can't find inventory. They're very specific on what they want, or they're in a very specific price range, or they just are not super flexible and they struggle. They don't have as much of a budget as they wish they had. Or there's the buyers who are having a ton of success in this market by finding houses that have been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days. Maybe the sellers had a couple of price reductions and making aggressive offers and getting great deals on a house. With that being said, if you're looking for a house right now in Northern Michigan and can be at all flexible of what you're looking for, and maybe you're willing to, maybe you're pre-approved at 500,000, but you're willing to buy a $400,000 house, or 400, you're approved at 400, you're willing to buy a 325. You can be super aggressive and find deals in those price ranges, which I think is incredibly important. So food for thought. That's just a little bit of a tidbit to start. Fall in Northern Michigan is setting in. You're going to start seeing a lot of fall content from us. All the apple orchards are open. Pond Hill Farm, Uncle Frank's, Nobby's over in Rogers City. So we're getting into the sweet spot of Northern Michigan. We're in the swing of high school football. This is a really fun time for us locals. Nothing against people that visit here. We love all of our resorters and people that visit in the summertime, but from somebody that lives here year round, this is my favorite time of year. I just bought my ski pass for the year, so we've got that to look forward to. And the world is starting to slow down a little bit. So it's definitely a great time in Northern Michigan. I hope if you're not here, you have the opportunity to visit this fall, because it's a tremendous time in Northern Michigan. If you are here, I hope you are enjoying everything that Northern Michigan has to offer in the fall. So tonight we're talking about Northern Michigan's next hotspot. And I did a little research looking at where are people heading? Where are people buying right now? Paul L. Oh gosh, this is gonna be a big one. Paul L. asks, where is the best skiing? Well, I'm glad you asked, because if you asked 100 people in Northern Michigan, a large percentage of them would say Nubs Knob. If you ask me, I would say the Highlands, which is located directly across the street from Nubs Knob. You can't go wrong with skiing in Northern Michigan. Now, there's going to be a snob on here that watches this. Maybe they're watching live, or maybe they're going to watch the replay and say nothing, Northern Michigan skiing sucks. You got to go out west. But for what we have here, I think Northern Michigan skiing is awesome in the wintertime. We've got Nubs Knob, which is a local favorite. It's sort of a hot tub time machine situation. There's people grilling on the hills. They've got curly fries. It's sort of the local hangout. I prefer Boyne Highlands directly, or the Highlands. I always get corrected. Forever, it was Boyne Highlands. They rebranded to the Highlands, and now everybody always has to come at me in the comments or troll me when I don't call it the Highlands. Sherlock the Pug's got a comment, but let me finish talking about skiing. Boyne Mountain Resort. If you're visiting the area, you're coming here for the weekend, you want to ski, no better experience. I'm actually currently selling right now. I'm excited about this. I'm selling one of the hotel units at the Highlands to a client that just sort of called us out of the blue. She's going to rent it out. I told her I want to be her first renter because I think that's a cool staycation move. But no, Nubs Knob's great. The Highlands great. Boyne Mountain's great. And there's also some other treetops at Seagull Club. There's some smaller ones in Gaylord. But yeah, it depends what you define by best skiing. People say Nubs Knob has the best snow, which is debatable. I think the Highlands has the best experience. They've got great restaurants. They've got great bars. They've got, tons of stuff going on. It's like a resort feel. They've got the 6-person chairlift. So definitely, um, yeah, thank you so much for asking because I love talking about who has the best ski resort. Great picking at the Resort Pike Cidery House Saturday. Yeah, that's awesome. There is so much fun stuff. Sherlock the Pug, give us if I missed anything, what are your, I know you're local, what are your favorite things to do in Northern Michigan in the fall? If anybody else watching this, whether you watch it live or the replay, drop a comment. Let me know, what are your favorite things to do in fall in Northern Michigan? I know I have mine. I love going to Pond Hill. I love going to Uncle Frank's. I love going all the way over to Rogers City. Nobby's is sort of in the middle of nowhere. The best cider donuts you're ever going to find. No, Northern Michigan's time to shine is in the fall. So getting back to what we're talking about, places I'm seeing people move. And where is Northern Michigan's next hotspot going to be? Obviously Petoskey, Traverse City are always going to be, in high demand. We got a comment. Pond Hill, absolutely. I think Pond Hill, we're going to go out there and get some content. Pumpkin bowling, adult foosball in the sense of you get to use your feet, and the adult is the foosball player, not that it's adult in another way. So definitely adult. Pond Hill Farm is great. Hay rides, they do a great job. Did you know that the person that owns Pond Hill also owns the water tractor charter fishing boat? I didn't know that, but I went with one of my son's friends for his birthday last year, and he was our captain. I didn't know that he owned both. So talk about a lifestyle. I mean, imagine owning a farm in Harbor Springs, then also doing some charter fishing. I mean, man, there are tougher ways in the world to earn a living than that. So again, thank you for all the comments. This always makes it more fun. I'm actually working on a new software that I'm going to try to get up and running this winter. I have to learn it before I put it on here, but it's going to allow us to do some really cool interactive stuff, like interactive polls, and maybe do some like plug-in stuff to make it just like a really cool experience, because I enjoy doing these lives. So I appreciate you guys showing up every week and chatting with me, because I think these are a lot of fun. So again, thank you for showing up. Areas people are moving to, we're talking about places. And if I miss any, flag me down. Elk Rapids, Elmira, Mansalona, that whole region. I'm going to get a map out, because if you're watching this, you're not familiar, I'm going to show you on the maps what I'm talking about. Google. Also, drop a comment. Let me know. Do you like Apple Maps or Google Maps? Which do you prefer? I love Apple Maps just because I love Apple stuff and I feel like it works better. Drop a comment. Let me know, what's more reliable, Apple Maps or Google Maps? Right now I'm using Google Maps because it works better for the screen share. So I'm going to type in Elk Rapids, Michigan, because Elk Rapids is an area that we're starting to get a lot of people interested in. So let me share my screen and just give you a little bit of a sorry, somebody just texted me and said the Cardinals jerseys are fire. Is anybody watching the football game while you're watching me? Are the Cardinals jerseys? I think they're playing the Seahawks tonight. So I'm glad this didn't coincide with the Lions game, because I feel like my viewership would have been down. So, all right, let me go on share screen, Google Maps, share. All right, so we're gonna get this out of the way. I think a map will help you, especially if you're not super familiar with Northern Michigan. So Elk Rapids right here. I know you can't see the cursor. Elk Rapids is Grand Traverse Bay on one side, Elk Lake, Torch Lake, a couple of other lakes on this side. So Elk Rapids is definitely an area that we're starting to see a lot of people move to. I don't think you can see it if I do this, but the reason is Elk Rapids, it's close to Traverse City, definitely within striking distance, typically a little less expensive, way less congested, and it's still close. Elk Rapids is still close to Charlevoix. If you want to come up to Petoskey, it's actually showing you where I am right now. That's definitely an area. So this whole region, this Elk Rapids, Mansalona, Elmira, this Gaylord. So I would say as far east as Gaylord, as far north as, let's say, East Jordan, all the way to the water. That region there, let me see if I can zoom in on it. I got to figure out a way. So right here, this is probably the best example of it. This region right here, I think, is one of the most up and coming regions in Northern Michigan. It's expensive compared to what it used to be, but it's not as expensive as it once was. And I definitely think you get a lot of bang for your buck there. When you start going up north, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Boyne City, these areas are the ones that have seen the most growth over the last few years. But I definitely think when you start talking about, areas that you're going to see, it's the areas, it's almost like the bleed effect, where it's like the demand is just bleeding out to further areas. And I think depending on what happens with Northern Michigan, I think the next few years in Northern Michigan will be really interesting. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this statement. I think the Northern Michigan's at a transitional point where is it going to keep going? Meaning, is it just off to the races? This is, breakaway run. This is just how Northern Michigan's going to be now. Or are we seeing a little bit of softening in demand? Uh, a little bit of softening in demand, and it's going to sort of cool the growth in Northern Michigan. One thing that is definitely interesting, I think a couple of things could happen to stop Northern Michigan's growth. And we're talking about that right now. One, I think prices, it seems like we're on the precipice of prices might be starting to come down. I think this winter, spring, and next summer is going to tell the story because this year, I think prices have already come down in Northern Michigan. This is an interesting take, but as somebody that studies this market as closely as you can possibly study a market, I think prices in Northern Michigan have already come down, but people are taking their homes off the market versus accepting that, which is robbing us of the ability to have that. There's a house on the market right now that are worth 20-30% less than the people are asking, but we're never going to know that because they're going to take that house off the market before they take that low of a price, which I think is really interesting when you have a market, when you have a product when you have a product that you put on the shelf, and if it doesn't sell, you just take it off and hold on to it. That's something that's very unique about real estate because anything else, whether it's a car, whether it's something in a retail shop, you can't just take something off the market and not sell it and have everything be okay. If you do that to a car, the car is going to age and whatever. Houses obviously don't age the same way. So I think that's just one of the other things that makes Northern Michigan real estate, or real estate in general, interesting is that people just, if they don't like what the market's giving them, they can simply take the price off the market or the house off the market. So I've continued to see this. I think I've really thought the eastern side of the state, like the Alpena, Roger City, that area, I still think that area is a little bit too rural, um, which makes it a little bit more challenging. But yeah, I mean, Northern Michigan, there's still a ton of demand here. I'm genuinely interested what happens with prices though. So that is definitely something to watch. Um, yeah, I think, let me just Google this really quick. So August 15th, I was looking for this article. I meant to talk about this last time because it's a little bit older now, but let me share my screen. So the Northern Michigan Escapes made an article about the future of real estate, and it basically said the real estate has been vital to the Northern Michigan economy. Some things in here that I don't think are entirely true, those smart home trends and that sort of thing. Um, that wasn't the article I thought it was. So no, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think if you want to have success in Northern Michigan real estate, there's a couple of things you can do. One, come up here, pick the areas you want to consider, visit the houses, tour them ahead of time before you start looking at houses. So this time of year is a great time to come to Northern Michigan. It's one thing to come to Northern Michigan in the summertime and see as Kid Rock says, summertime in Northern Michigan. It's another thing to come here in sort of the off season, especially if you're thinking about relocating here full time, or you plan to spend time here during that season. Just see Northern Michigan now. As it gets closer to winter, spend some time here in the winter, tour the areas, find those houses that have been on the market for a while. If you're thinking about renting before you're moving here, if that's something you're set on doing, I think it's important to, as we talked about earlier, make sure you get on the waiting list prior to, and then, simply find your spot and then start looking for houses in Northern Michigan. So what we're seeing right now is we've got some great listings. We are slugging it out, trying to find prices to move the market a little bit. We've had some buyers have a ton of success. We're getting a lot. We're trying to see this on both sides of the ball, whether it's our listing or our buyer. We are seeing offers get accepted contingent on home sale a lot more frequently than they would have otherwise. Which is interesting. So don't be afraid. If you've got a house to sell in another area, we can figure out a plan for you to sell that house and get into your new house in Northern Michigan. So definitely something to consider. I want to hop off here in a little bit so I don't keep you guys up too late. Is there any questions or anything else you'd like to cover that we didn't cover tonight? Again, I really appreciate you watching. We've got some great episodes coming up. We're going to do a ton of fall and winter content because I think when people are considering relocating to Northern Michigan, or what I've experienced when people are relocating to Northern Michigan, they find they worry more about those off-season months than they do the summer. So I definitely want to make sure I'm putting out as much content as possible on that. So if there's nothing else you guys want to talk about, I will let you enjoy your Thursday night, and I will come back next Thursday. I'm actually out of town next Thursday, so it might be Thursday night. It might be Friday that I do this live. So either way, I will see you guys next week. As always, if you need anything, call me directly, 231-487-6141, and we will talk soon. See you guys.